Okay, I've never done this before, so this is going to be a tour of my shop. This is right inside the front door. My shop is 24 by 36. The main shop is 24 by 24 with a 12-foot addition on the back. I'll get to showing you that. You'll see as we come around in the door, this is my main home-built old-style workbench with two vices. I built this a long time ago. Still works. I still use it on a fairly regular basis for carving chair seats and other work that needs some heavy-duty action. My collection of power tools, primarily DeWalt, and there's a reason for that. I worked for Fastenal as a salesperson for about 7 or 8 years after I retired from my main career, and was reasonably successful selling their stuff, and as a result was able to purchase most of the stuff, and I found it to be very reliable, otherwise I wouldn't use it. Moving on, we have a disc sander. This is a Shop Fox 12-inch disc sander, either 80 grit or 120 grit. I use it primarily for chair work, a little bit on if I have to touch up a segment on a bowl or something. Then we have the Delta oscillating spindle sander. My choice here was pretty much dictated by the size of the table, and really a tool that if I need to, if I need to sand the inside of a curve, it's my go-to tool. One of the things you'll see around here is I have some pavers sitting around. Whenever I need weight, that's pretty much where I go. I also have some shop-made clamps. The DeWalt planer, this is a new one. I beat the other one up so badly over 7 or 8 years, it finally just self-destructed inside. I don't blame DeWalt at all for that. The tool was abused and overused, well beyond its capacity. I don't complain. And then we have the Jet 1632 drum sander. Don't let anybody kid you. It's really not serviceable as a 32-inch wide sander. I don't have any need for it to go over 16 inches, so every once in a while I'll slide something through the open arm, but 16 is about the limit. Next to that we have the cabinet is a shop-built cabinet that I use for hand tools and a collection of whatever. Top drawer is all screwdrivers and punches and pliers and clinching tools, drivers, chisels, wrenches, sockets, hammers, and then the second drawer from the bottom is that catch-all drawer that we all have. One of my router tables is the next, as you'll see, number one, everything is on casters for the most part, if I need to move things around. This is an old New Yankee Workshop pattern that I've raised up after years of leaning over it and straining my back. I raised it up 4 inches and it's made a world of difference. I have a new Jessam lift in it. I had the same lift before. It's not healthy to put a full-size 3-inch panel raising bit in a lift if you're not going to make sure that it's down tight, and it came out and wrecked the lift. So if anybody needs any lift parts, I have the old lift. And then this is storage for router supplies and bits. My collection of router bits, a lot of which were accumulated, as you can tell from the blue paint, were accumulated during the time that I worked at Rockler, which was a few years immediately after my retirement. Again, basically table accessories and bits that don't fit in the upper drawer. Feather boards, so on and so forth. And then the extra drawer on the bottom, again, it's kind of the same kind of storage. Guide bushings, extra router bit sets, and so on and so forth. I do a lot of different stuff. I call it my eclectic working shop, woodworking shop, and it really is. I've been asked if I could only do one thing out here, what would it be? And it would be to turn. Over here we have kind of the brains of the operation. This is a table that goes back to, again, a New Yankee Workshop book that I made this for my daughter as a home desk. And the way it was set up, I could never get the timbre to work right. So I kept it here, and over time she decided she no longer wanted it. So I reworked it, made it a stand-up desk for here in the shop, and used the Lonnie Bird Amana timbre router bit set, and it really works nice. I'm really pleased with it. Keeps the dust off the computer, and we have it set up so that we can work down here or in the house and network. Our internet connection out here in the country is not very good, so we use the local connection. Sometimes our cellular connection is better than the internet connection, but we make do. Alongside the desk, I have a vertical cabinet, again, on rollers, but also screwed to the wall, and a printer with a dust cover. Works pretty well. I blow it off about once a month and suck the dust out of it. Not a lot gets under the cover, so we seem to be okay from that regard. But small pieces, I tend to save stuff, thinking I'll use it eventually. We have some segmented pieces that will eventually get used as inlays for something. I don't know what it is. On the top, this is a bowl. It was sent to me by one of my cousins out in the Northwest. My great-great-grandfather settled in Washington Territory in 1849, 1850. This is a bread bowl that came out of the home on the original land grant where our family still lives. And because I'm a turner, my cousin sent me that bowl. It's huge. It's about 20 inches across, and it shows clear signs of having been turned. I talked to an antique dealer. She feels it's from, if it's from out there, it's from between 1855 and 1870. Really kind of a cool thing to have, and I'm still scratching my head as to how it was turned, but it has clear tool marks in it. Some of what you're seeing here is things that I've just kind of projects, skill building projects on the CNC that I have, which I'll show you shortly. in the back room. Really been a fun addition to the shop, although it's takes up space I didn't want to give up. Another cabinet here. This is my chop saw cabinet. I try to keep this pretty simple. I do have fences with a stop block, auxiliary fences with a stop block that I use when I want to cut short pieces or large segments for like bowl bases and things like that. I try to put cabinets anywhere I can. This is storage for my extra sandpaper, and then miscellaneous things like zip ties and tool sets and wire brushes and so on and so forth. Most of my tools were originally purchased used, and sometimes we've got second, third generations. This is my obviously my DeWalt chop saw. It's a slider. Again, bought it used. Excellent and decent precision for what I use it for. You'll see these little guys around the shop everywhere, my pencil holders. It's just cut on a 15-degree angle and screwed to the wall with some pencil holders selected in it. Two things that drive me nuts is not being able to find a tape measure or a pencil. So I find that long pencils tend to get lost and broken. So on the advice of a good friend of mine, I bought a box of Ticonderoga golf pencils with erasers. They're half length. If I lose one, they're like $11 for a box of a gazillion. And if I lose one, I don't worry about it. I also have tape measures almost everywhere. I label them by location so that I try to put them back when I'm done with them where they belong, and that really, really helps. I don't waste a lot of time. I use the same Stanley 1-inch tape almost everywhere in the shop, so that if I am switching them, the tapes are fairly consistent measurement wise. And of course, the biggest variation is in how the tip attaches, and I make sure that there isn't a lot of wear there. My woodworking originally started, my interest as it developed has primarily been as a chair maker. That's how I started turning. This is a chair that's in progress. Although the lady that's getting it would say that the progress is slower than she would like. And this is of course, my Jet or Powermatic 14-inch bandsaw with I think that's a 4-inch riser, or maybe a 6-inch riser in it. Again, a tool that I'm very, very pleased with. I've had it probably 15 years now, and of course, Powermatic hasn't changed it very much, and reasonably easy bandsaw blade changes. What's in there now is a 1/4-inch blade. I also use what they call a resaw blade from Highland Woodworking. I buy all my blades from Highland. I'm real pleased with them. And then we get over here to the Jet drill press. Got a bunch of chair parts laying on right now with a Rockler auxiliary platform on the table. And between, I have these two next to each other, and I do a lot of sawing of plank wood. I'm involved in a project for a customer that we're down to planks that were sawmilled from this huge tree, which you can see on the website. My web address is www.artinwood.com, and there's several different pages in there showing different things that I do. And as I said, my woodworking is quite eclectic. So we use your space around the shop as best we can. I've become curious about Jerry's wedgies. I'm still not sure that I totally trust them. I've never had a problem with my old style sleds, but these are more compact, they're easier to store, and also give me a use for when I cut the handles off, the long handles off of my Easy Wood tools. I use the handles, what's left, for push bars. I store, there's chair parts hanging around the top. I'll show you there's plenty of bowls and turning stuff on the website if you want to go there and look. This is my jet lathe. It's a 14-inch jet. It's kind of disappointing in that I needed some parts a couple of years ago, and in the process of giving up the ghost, I lost the main shaft, and the clutch was damaged, and I had a terrible time getting parts, and ended up just giving up. And I was doing some work for a friend who's a machinist, who made me all new guts using the old parts as a pattern, and it's almost too precise. It's a little snug on the slower speeds, but I bought extra belts while I could still get them. This lathe is not that old, and I'm a little disappointed that parts availability is somewhat limited. We'll make it work as long as we can, and I don't know, for whatever time we're going to be here, we'll figure out as we go along. Behind the lathe is my tool storage. I do a lot of different things. I do spindles for my chairs. I have a 4-foot extension for the lathe. I've only used it once. I bought it on eBay. If anybody would like it, I'm open to suggestions. I will not use it again. It's too heavy for me to. I have an extra set of legs and the extension, which gives you basically 7 feet of length, so if you need to turn a baluster or something like that. Again, cabinets. This is my sharpening station, a slow speed delta grinder, as well as, or a variable speed delta grinder that goes down to whatever it is, 1750 or whatever, and then a Tormac. Tormac I bought used. The Delta has a one-way Wolverine, and I probably use that more than I use the Tormac, but I really do enjoy the Tormac. My sharpening, I keep my files and extra gloves and things in the top drawer here, for no reason other than that's where I put them. I have stones. These are all upside down, and I don't use them a whole lot, but when I'm sharpening carving chisels and things like that, they come in handy. Label maker. I like labels. I do make cribbage boards. This is my cribbage board parts inventory. And then odds and ends drawers for storage that we all have in the rest of the cabinet. Again, we're back to the entry door. We're going to go in the back now. Here you'll see, this is the dust collection coming off my planer. Never been real happy with it. The DeWalt planer, my one complaint with it is that it has its own chip ejection system, and it's really powerful. It's probably more powerful than it needs to be, but we work around it. I have I make chair backrests up in advance. You can see on the website, I think I have a couple chairs on there. You can see my style of backrests. I love the lumbar supports. I think a chair ought to be comfortable. I make my chairs as comfortable as I can. This is my clamp storage. I've accumulated a lot of clamps over the years for various projects, not the least of which was I was involved in making the frame for the chariot in the display at the Milwaukee Public Museum, which is still on display there and will be hopefully in perpetuity. So with various projects, I've accumulated a fair number of clamps. This whole wall is clamps. And this cabinet, before we go in the back room, this was one of the first cabinets I made, and it shows it. But it's still serviceable, and someday I'm going to redo the shelving. But a lot of old collection of tools in here, some of which are from my great-grandfather, who was a house joiner and part-time house joiner and farmer in northern Illinois. And of course, more modern and my stuff, chisels and chair tools and so on and so forth. I steal ideas or tools, and I really am not hesitant at all of stealing an idea or acting on a suggestion from other woodworkers. So fire away. This is a 5-horse, 60-gallon compressor. It's made in South Dakota, I believe. It's got a Rock River brand on it. They also make their own brand. Rock River is a Fastenal brand. Bought it when I worked there. It's kind of overkill for in here, but I have air throughout the shop at several stations. There's probably 8 stations around the shop that have their own pump. In the back room, we have an overhead door, 8 feet wide and 7.5 feet high, that we can move large equipment. And I've even brought the tractor in here and worked on it. And also, the main purpose of this space was originally I wanted to build I still want to build a Rangeley guide boat. I got one of my fantasies was to always have a CNC router. This I built myself when I was still employed at Rockler. One of the problems with this shop has been the fact that I was working on the chariot. I got the chariot job while I was building the shop, and so it forced me to start working in here before I had things fully organized. I don't know that I've ever gotten fully organized, or if any of us do. I have a little cart back here, also on wheels. You've probably seen something like it somewhere. I got it out of a magazine. But this is where I store my small pieces of exotics that I use for featurings on bowls and just little scraps of wood that I think are fascinating. And guys gotta have stuff. And it's both sides. It's very heavy. I need to clean it up, but I thought, guys whose shops are always clean probably lie about other things too. That's really about it. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I don't know how this process works as far as day of. And we'll shoot some video from outside so you can see what the outside of the shop looks like, and kind of get the lay of the land here. We're blessed, in that my wife and I have owned this property for about 17 years, and it's just a house that somebody plopped in the middle of a farm field, and we've been able to develop it with trees and landscaping, and been able to add the spot where this building was a really lousy tin shed when we bought the place, and my wife has been agreeable, and I always try to add something to whatever I build, something old. And one of the things that we have here is a house, a divider door that came out. It's a parlor door is what it is. I can't open it because the vacuums are in the way. This is a parlor door out of a house on Elm Street in Economowoc. The house was built in 1895. And on the back edge of the door, and it's one of the reasons I haven't done any finishing on the door after I stripped it, is it says HL Company. It has the date of 1895 on the back edge of the door, and the HL would be H. Lorleberg, which is one of the local hardware stores here that's been in business since the 1860s. And so that's kind of fascinating. It's the house that it came from is in the neighborhood where I grew up in Economowoc, so it's kind of cool to have. Up here we have some of the stuff I've done on the CNC. I do a lot of signs and plaques, and I do cribbage boards. My cribbage boards are round. You can see them on the website. A lot of forms and jigs for making chairs, and there's even a jig up here for a kid's picnic table. My Craig jigs, pocket hole, not a pocket hole jig, but a screw pocket for cutting hanger hooks on the back of plaques and so on and so forth. I have a few signs around that are sometimes mistakes. I just hang on the wall because I like them. This is one of the first little projects that I did on the CNC, kind of as a skill building exercise. I have a lot of fun out here, and it's not always pretty. Sometimes the air turns a little blue if I make a mistake, but it's me and my buddy Flynn, who's the shop manager. He's also a 5-year-old English Cocker Spaniel, field bred, hell of a bird dog, and we have a lot of fun together. Like I said, I'll be happy to answer any questions, and we'll also take a walk outside.